Hey, listeners, we are back. It is NFL Draft Week, and this is The Pylon, an NFC North podcast. I'm Big Z, representing the Lions, number 3 overall pick in the draft this week, just saying. But we got Kinger.
Go, Pack, go. Happy to be back.
We got Remy.
Skull to the bowl, purple rain in control, go Vikes.
And then last but not least, we got Barney.
Hey, everyone, bear down.
All right, gentlemen, this week is the NFL Draft. It's on Thursday, April 23rd. We've been waiting months and months for it. This is all we have to look forward to probably for the next couple months, to be honest with you, in terms of sports. So there's not going to be a better time frame than the next few days this weekend here to talk about something besides coronavirus. I'm pumped about it. So talking about the NFL Draft, there was big news out today. Kind of shocked everybody, really. Rob Gronkowski coming out of retirement. He got traded for a 4th round. So the Tampa Bay Buccaneers give up a 4th round pick, and the Patriots give up Rob Gronkowski and a 7th round pick. What a steal. This guy was just sitting on the sidelines, and the Patriots pick up a 4th rounder 2 days before the draft. Not too bad. Barney, what do you think about Gronk coming back, man?
I don't think there's anybody out there that's a fan of football that doesn't like Gronk. So this is a win for everybody. Hopefully, there's some funny shenanigans, but in his whole time in the NFL, he up until I think 2018, he was the NFL touchdown leader with like 67 touchdowns or whatever. So he beat out Antonio Brown in the field during that time. So dynamic playmaker, and Tom Brady's definitely happy to have him back.
And there was additional news out there that surprised even me. There was news out there that the Lions were trying to trade for him a couple of years ago. I never knew what the Lions were willing to give up for him. So Adam Schefter tweeted out today that Rob Gronkowski, the Lions offered their 1st round pick, number 20 overall, which ended up being Frank Ragnow, and their 2nd round pick, number 51, and the Lions would have received Rob Gronkowski and the Patriots' 2nd round pick, which was 43rd overall. I did not know the Lions were willing to give up a 1st round pick for Rob Gronkowski 2 years ago, which is kind of wild, and I think the Lions escaped one there. So Rob Gronkowski only wanted to play with Tom Brady. Yeah, Barney.
Yeah, that would have been quite the move for Patricia coming right on in.
For sure. And Patricia and Gronkowski are like really good friends, so it actually made sense. But Rob Gronkowski is a truly loyal guy to Tom Brady, I guess, and that's the only man that he wants to throw the ball to him at this point in his career. I think
this is something I think a lot of people saw coming, right? I think Rob Gronkowski, when he retired at the end of last season, I think he said he was just like mentally and physically drained of football. I honestly think maybe he was just mentally and physically drained of playing in New England. You got to give credit to the Patriots. Obviously, they're a winning organization. They're the best team in football of the last 20 years, hands down. But I imagine playing for Belichick and just in that system in general can be pretty taxing. Once you win, a handful of championships, I can see a change of scenery wanting to be something. And what's better than sunny Tampa, Florida, right? Going down there to join Tom. They got a good young team they're building. So I think it's a good spot for Gronk. And obviously, I think people should be very excited to see him back in the NFL.
Absolutely. And speaking of other players that might be traded this week, or this weekend, I should say, during the draft, Trent Williams is a name that's been thrown out there from the Redskins. Actually, Remy, the Vikings have been linked to Trent Williams a little bit the last couple of days. Do you have any thoughts about that?
Yeah, what I'm also seeing is we do a big 3-team blockbuster trade. Basically, the Vikings would give up Riley Reif and go get, we'd give up Reif and then a couple, like a 3rd and a 4th, and get Trent Williams. And then I've also seen where Anthony Harris goes to LA and we get Desmond King.
Oh, so our producer Kid J, Rams fan, would you want Anthony Harris, producer Kid J?
That would be great. I would love Anthony Harris.
LA as in, I'm sorry, the Chargers. Because Desmond King Desmond King from the Chargers. And whether we trade him our first round pick also, I've also been seeing maybe the 22 for him or maybe something in the second. But at that point, when you're giving up Anthony Harris too, just speculation. But that's a little bit of a rumor going back there in Minnesota.
Yeah, I've definitely heard Anthony Harris's name a lot on the trade block, possibly this weekend coming up. And we've spoken on this podcast before how much we hate Anthony Harris because we respect him as a player. So we would not mind to see a trade of him out of the division, I think. I think I can speak for everyone on that. So everybody nodding their head.
Absolutely.
Kinger, you're nodding your head. Yeah.
Absolutely.
A couple other names. I'm trying to think. Yannick Ngakoue. I don't know if you guys saw that crazy Twitter back and forth he had with Shad Khan's son, who runs the Jaguars' day-to-day operations. That was kind of a wild scene. You don't usually see. Ngakoue pretty much just begging on his hands and knees to get off the team. Khan trying to be respectful, but also just telling him to shut up at the same time. It's kind of a wild scene. Have anybody on any of your teams ever done that? That verbally on Twitter? I mean, my team, Darius Slay, has been very outspoken on Twitter, and Quandre Diggs when they got traded. I'm trying to think of other situations. King, you're shaking your head like a Packer player would never do that type of shit.
No, absolutely not. No, that's not tolerated in Green Bay. So I mean, we really don't have a history of that, though. That's the truth. Yeah.
I think Barney, the closest for the Bears would be Brandon Marshall, maybe, in terms of speaking out against the team while on it.
Sure, I can see that a little bit. There was definitely times where he's a little bit outspoken, but I don't think it ever got anywhere near as, it's just the Jaguars.
No,
man.
not near.
Last year it was Jalen Ramsey bad mouthing them until he was gone. I don't know what happened between that whole Miles Jack fumble recovery that should have sent the Patriots home, in the AFC Championship. But after that loss there, that the next 2 years, this team just crumbled.
Oh yeah, and I think Remy, the closest to you, and he got traded. So Stephon Diggs, at least in recent memory, in terms of an outspoken player.
Stephon Diggs for sure. Also, Jaron Curse is a man who would actually reply to fans and talk in third person at times and say on Twitter that he wasn't welcomed back and that he wanted out.
And didn't Thielen go on a radio show this past season, tell Kirk Cousins to throw him the ball deep or something like that? It's not the same situation, but just in terms of speaking out in the media against your own team.
Thielen, he made the point as to where if you're going to slam it down their throats and run and only get 2 to 3 yards, you got to try something different. I believe it was after week 3 because first couple games Kirk barely had 100 yards passing. I don't know if he even did have 100 yards passing, but they got it going, and I think they got it going a little too late because that win in Green Bay, man, we should have had it.
So, all right. That kind of tops off the first part of this podcast in terms of trade targets. Now, the main focus of this podcast here is over the past weekend, the Pylon crew for this NFC North podcast did a mock draft. We went through rounds 1 through 7. We did a simulated mock draft. We came up with a lot of different scenarios, and that's what we're going to go through here for the rest of the podcast. We're going to break down what was going on with each pick, maybe the type of decisions we had to make, who we were choosing between, and things of that nature. And we're going to run through it, rounds 1 through 7. Are you ready, guys?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
All right. So we're going to go right in order here with each pick. So obviously the Lions, third overall pick. I was up first in this mock draft. So Lions sit at 3. The obvious 2, Joe Burrow and Chase Young, were taken already. So I was left with the possibility of either Jeffrey Okudah, Derek Brown, Isaiah Simmons is a popular name as well. But what I ultimately ended up doing was looking to trade back because I wanted some extra ammunition. And I was able to pull off a trade with the San Diego Chargers. So the Lions give up their third pick. The Chargers receive the Lions' third overall pick. The Lions got back the Chargers' 6th pick, the 37th overall pick, and next year's 3rd-round pick from the Chargers. And the Lions had to give up, in addition, our second 3rd-round pick, which is 89th overall, I believe. So that is what the so I only have one 3rd-round pick now instead of the 2, and this was the 3rd-round pick that the Lions acquired from the Eagles in the Golden Tate trade. So all right, let's get down to business here. And my pick, the 6 overall, I end up getting Jeffrey Okudah still. So the Chargers traded for Tua. Isaiah Simmons is picked to the Giants. Justin Herbert at 5. And I went with Jeffrey Okudah. Really solid cornerback. Darius Slay is traded. We have Trufant and Okudah now as our 2 secondary weapons. I really like it. I can tell Remy's going to be a little jealous of that secondary compared to what you got over in Minnesota there.
Yeah.
So as far as the NFC North goes, I thought that was a pretty obvious choice. Maybe it's too obvious. The Lions also could consider Derek Brown at that spot in the 6th overall because he went right after me. But then a few offensive linemen got taken at that, and then the next NFC North pick was 22nd overall. So I'll let you take it away, Remy. You had the 22nd overall pick, and what did you decide to go with there?
Yeah, sure. A little bit of my bias here had me taking Trayvon Diggs, 6'2" corner out of Alabama. We definitely need corners, and we need them more than any other position. But no, my bias showed, and I took Trayvon Diggs. Had I redone it, I would have probably taken Christian Fulton, but I took Trayvon Diggs at 22. And then advancing to my...
Wait, hold on, Remy, just before you move on there.
Sure.
Trayvon Diggs. So I had a question about kind of the way the defense is played in Minnesota, because the thing about him is that he's really good in press coverage. Is that what Minnesota likes to play? Do they like to play a lot of zone, or is it more press coverage?
They really like their press. That way, Harrison Smith can come off the edge and blitz, and that's always one thing that Xavier Rhodes. You heard about it his 2nd and 3rd year. He was forced to wear boxing gloves so he wouldn't hold the receivers in practice.
He would hold a shit ton.
Yeah, and if he didn't hold, then he got burned. So yeah, no, Zimmer likes his press cover guys.
Yeah, because that's what I read about him here. So I just wanted to make sure that's the kind of defense to play, as I'm not as familiar with their defense, but that he's really a really good press coverage guy and possibly a top press coverage cornerback in the draft. So I actually like that pick. So continue. You had the next pick as well, right?
Yeah, and then on to 25, I chose Jalen Reagor out of TCU. I definitely think he can kind of step in and fill the void that we lost with Stephon Diggs. He's quick, and he's what better fit than Reagor. It looks like Mims was taken right after me at 23. He would have been Mims was taken at 23 right after, so he would have been my choice had he fell to 25.
Yeah, for sure. What do you like about Reagor compared to maybe some of these other wide receivers like T. Higgins or even like a KJ Hamler, just a speedster guy?
I just think he can make big plays. There's going to be so many weapons in that offense with Thielen, obviously, Cook being the focal point. They even go to Rudolph, and a lot of people don't know, but when they run the 2 tight end set and go to Irv Smith Jr., there's a lot of weapons, and they just need someone to step in who can get those 3rd and 5s on quick little out routes and be the speedster on a little slant to get 4, 5, 6 yards for a first down, and then a deep threat as well.
Yeah, and at least what I read about PFF here is that Reagor is their top deep threat guy. So that's definitely a good possible replacement for Stephon Diggs there for sure. All right, so the next team that was in order here, Barney, you're sitting on the sidelines a lot here in the first round. You doing all right there?
Yeah. I'm gonna be having some fun on Thursday. Just no pressure at all. Watching the draft here. But I'm hanging out.
There are, before we move on to Kinger there with Green Bay. Just there are 6 teams, so you're not alone at least, Barney, in terms of teams that do not have a first round draft pick. I believe it's the Bills, the Texans, the Rams, the Bears, the Steelers, and there's one more I'm missing off the top of my head. But so
You said Rams.
Yeah. But Barney, do you still wear your team jersey on the first round night, even if you're not gonna be making any picks?
I'm gonna get pretty drunk on Thursday night. I'll probably be wearing my shirt, but I don't want to spill on it.
All right, fair enough. So Kinger, man, Green Bay, 30th overall pick here. They're picking really late in the first round, but you got a first rounder. So what are you gonna do with him, man?
Yeah, so I kind of went against what I was preaching on the podcast last week about wanting to go offensive player. I was honestly put on the spot a little bit. I'm very adamant that I would like to see the Packers use this first round pick on some sort of offensive talent. Obviously focus specifically around that wide receiver position. But with 6 wide receivers already getting taken ahead of me, with at least how GM Kinger's grading these guys, there wasn't anybody on the board that I still wanted to grab. T. Higgins and Brandon Ayuk and KJ Hamler were the 3 wide receivers still on the board, but again, not guys that I really want to see them make moves on in the first round. I had mentioned last week that I still like to see that some help at the linebacker position, and Kenneth Murray was available, so went in and scooped him. Again, kind of went over some of the things that he was good at last week, but really he's going to come in, big playmaker, a lot of TFLs, getting in the backfield, and really going to provide that speed that Green Bay's been lacking on the defense. So could have done a couple things. Trade back could have been a possibility, but I liked where I was at, and taking Murray at that linebacker position, I'd be okay with that.
And I think depending on the scout, people will either think that's a steal or you're picking too high. The grades on him are all over the place, man.
Definitely. I've seen him going as late as late second round. So there are people who do grade him a little bit lower, but the fact of the matter is the Packers are looking for playmakers, and that's what Kenneth Murray is. So how, based on where we were at, I thought for a late first round pick, I'm A-okay with that selection.
So if GM Remy doesn't take Jalen Reagor, would you consider that?
See, I like Reagor, but honestly, the guys that I'm focusing on, and both of them are rising quickly on that draft board, are Justin Jefferson and Denzel Mims. So those are the guys I really like to target. I wouldn't rule it out, but from where I was at, I think ultimately Murray is going to be a more impactful playmaker quickly for Green Bay.
Yeah, and in our draft, our mock draft, Justin Jefferson went 19th overall to the Raiders. Mims, as Remy mentioned, right after his pick at 23 to New England. The other wide receivers, just if you're a Green Bay fan and you're listening, that were on the board there, at least in our mock draft, were T. Higgins, KJ Hamler, Michael Pittman, Brandon Ayuk, and Chenault from Colorado. So those guys could easily be sneak in the first round, early second as well. So those are some other possibilities as far as the wide receiver position goes, at least. All right, so now that is our first round. I don't know if you're listening, if that's what you're expecting or not, but that is what we came up with. But a lot of this is where you get some good value sometimes in the second round. Sometimes teams reach in the first round because they have a dire need, but the second round has a ton of value. It's arguably sometimes more exciting to me than the first round, just in terms of the type of value you can get. So my Detroit Lions are the first NFC North team here to pick, and it's 35th overall. I went with Zach Bond, outside linebacker from Wisconsin. This guy is a playmaker. Not quite to T.J. Watt's level for the Pittsburgh Steelers, but definitely the same type of playmaker from the outside. Can force a lot of fumbles, wreak a lot of havoc in the backfield, especially on pass plays. That's why the Lions need desperate pass rush help. This guy off the edge can be that difference maker for the Lions. And that I didn't even think twice about it. I was really hoping he was here early in the second round. If I saw his name, I was grabbing him. I didn't even look, quite honestly, at the other names available. Other linebackers were maybe Troy Dye, but not really. I didn't think twice about this one. You guys are Big Ten guys. You guys are, what's that, Kinger?
I was going to say, Troy Dye, definitely, he's a solid prospect as well, but that early in the second round, you'd be reaching, I think, a little bit with Dye.
Yeah, for sure. And the other possibility for the Lions is they desperately need D-line help. But I didn't see any D-linemen if AJ Epineza was to ever fall to the Lions in the early second round, I would hope they scoop him up in a heartbeat. I would take him over Bond. But in this case, he was long gone before then. So I thought, a perfect fit here. Zach Bond, outside linebacker, huge playmaker. A lot of people have been mocking him to the Lions as well, including this guy, including Big Z right here. But in my trade, I also got a additional second-round pick from the Chargers. So I got the 37th overall pick as well. So I have Bond and then a pick and then me again. So 37th overall. I saw his name there. I couldn't help myself. I had to do it. J.K. Dobbins I went with. Jonathan Taylor already taken. If he is there, I would take him first as my first running back. He's first on my board in terms of running back. But second for me is J.K. Dobbins. A lot of people like DeAndre Swift a little better. Depends on the scout, again, that you listen to. But I like J.K. Dobbins better than DeAndre Swift, just what I see. This guy has fantastic vision. He's not going to have that breakaway speed necessarily like a Saquon Barkley, who, if they get to that second level, be able to go 70 yards. But J.K. Dobbins easily going to get you 4 yards of carry guaranteed as long as he can stay healthy. And the other thing is that he's versatile. He can catch passes out of the backfield with regularity. So he fits a lot of parts on an offense, and that's what the Lions need, a reliable running back. They have Kerryon Johnson. They have Bo Scarborough, who is a fall-forward type running back, but they don't have like that consistent running back. They thought they had it with Kerryon Johnson. He's had 2 major injuries the last 2 years. They cannot rely on him whatsoever. So getting a guy with the caliber of J.K. Dobbins early in the second round, I love. And you guys are all Big Ten guys. What do you guys think about J.K. Dobbins?
He's the truth.
I think J.K. Dobbins is a stud. I mean, when you suit up for the Buckeyes, obviously, you got to be a talented player. He ran away with the Big Ten. I thought he did really well. Just a complete back.
Oh, yeah. What's that, Remy?
Yeah, I was going to say him and Taylor back and forth. I don't think Taylor is as physical. I think he's more Le'Veon Bell-ish, slippery, patient, whereas Dobbins is, in my opinion, the truth.
I like it. The truth. Hey, maybe we already have a nickname for him if we get him in a Lions uniform. So, Barney, it's finally your turn. You're up, man. The 43rd overall pick, the Chicago Bears. You're finally on the board, man. You've been waiting for a day, almost 2 days to make your pick. You're drunk as hell probably at this point. You haven't stopped drinking since the first pick went on the board. You took off on middle of Thursday night. You said, I'm just not going to work tomorrow. I'm taking off. I don't care what's going on. But you're finally up, man. This is your time. Who are the Bears going with?
To make the best choices, sometimes the pack is only as strong as its the people in the back. So I had to kill off the brain cells that were weak and have plenty of beer so that only the smart brain cells were there. But I made a long wait, and I chose to even wait a little longer. With only 2 picks inside the first 160. The Bears really got to get creative, make sure we hit on some players here, but try to, obviously maximize the potential here. So I saw a lot of talent on the board here, and I know I'm picking in 7 picks later, so I decided to trade back, and I was able to trade with Philadelphia. I traded back from 43 all the way to 53, so 10 spots. I gave up my additional 6th round late 196 pick, and I was able to get their 53 and their 3rd round pick at 103. So, I was really happy with that. I see a lot of talent again. So that's the decision I chose to make, because I just think a lot of these positions of need for the Bears, it's a really deep draft. Not so deep that, we're going to get our 3rd guy in the 6th, so to say, but I think we can get some good talent in the 3rd. So, now I'm looking at the draft here, and I believe I'm up at 50.
Yep.
And so, some of these guys are really intriguing here. I saw cornerback Jalen Johnson from Utah. He's a big physical cornerback. I saw Lloyd Cushenberry, center, a captain from LSU. There's Terrell Lewis from Bama. He's an outside linebacker, edge rusher. There's the top overall tight end, Cole Kmet, is there. And a wide receiver I think is pretty damn good, Laviska Shenault. All good choices, but instead I chose to go with Grant Delpit, safety from LSU. As of late, he's been sliding down a lot of people's draft boards. Before last season, he was supposed to be top overall, DB, somewhere in the top 5 picks, but now is sliding into the second. I think when you're picked to a team, your trajectory for your career can be largely based on the unit that you're brought into. And somebody like Delpit, a very talented, rangy guy who has concerns from his ability to break down and tackle defenders in open space. But what I think is with the defense that the Bears have and the core that they have, he won't really be asked to be the guy that he was asked to be at LSU. And he can just kind of let his instincts take over for him. And I think he has really good instincts here. So I have him planning to play the next 4 years with Eddie Jackson in the Bears DBs.
Yeah, man. If you get Grant Delpit at 50, I think that's a steal.
Yeah, I was really glad. I was really glad to see that he was. I saw a couple guys there, and I was really hoping that he was going to be the one that fell to 50. So.
Yeah, and I wanted to make a comment. Obviously, I think Grant Delpit's a guy that was, he was, I think, the number 1 rated safety up heading into this year, or top 2 or 3 safety heading into this year. So a lot of talent there. And I wanted to comment on a guy that you said that caught your interest there at 53, Lloyd Cushenberry. There is a lot of hype around him as well, but I'm honestly, I think that might be a little early for a guy like that. In 2018, I think he allowed 3 pressures, 2019, 34. So, he got picked in our mock just 3 picks after at 53. Some uncertainty around that. I definitely like the Delpit pick, say, over a guy like Cushenberry, although that still is a need for the Bears.
Well, yeah. Barney, why don't you go ahead and go to 53?
Yeah, and in true fashion, Kinger and the Packers, they just can't, with their righteous mind here of always being so smart, and they think they know everything. I decided to go with who I think is just an absolute leader. The Bears have fallen in love with centers in the past. We have a guy by the name of Olin Kreutz that was a captain and will go down in Bears lore for years. But that's something that I think this is a position in need. I think from center we can really fix our line at a faster rate than if we were to go for tackle. We really got to figure out the inside. I think this allows Daniels to play guard along with Whitehair at guard. So you bring in Lloyd Cushenberry, and I think at least for a second round and first 2 picks of the day or of the draft, us Bears are feeling really happy with this.
Yeah,
I'm looking.
He goes.
I'm looking at that was the Chicago Bears traded pick. So that's that was hand up on there. That was a little bit of a miscue on my part there. But I will say again, just to further comment on Cushenberry. Hey, the man had a great 2018. So you're right. You're looking to solidify that interior O line. You got to hope that play is he's able to develop that further.
I don't need your compliments here, sir.
Hand up on that one, boys. Hand up on that one.
But Kinger, I'm going to agree with you. I think that's a reach for the second round with Cushenberry as well. So the guy allowed a ton of pressures last year, helped by really good guard play around him. But as far as his play at center and on tape, there's a huge concern, especially in the pass blocking. So as a Lions fan, I would not mind the Bears taking him early in the second round. I would feel good about that one personally, Barney.
Well, there's absolutely no threat coming on the defensive side from Detroit. So at least for those games, I'm not going to worry about it.
Well, we'll talk about what the rest of the picks were here. Don't worry. All right. So now the next pick that came up in the second round, so Barney had 50 and 53. He trades back to 50 and 53. And now Minnesota is up with the 58th overall pick here in the second round. So, Remy, why don't you take it away?
Yeah, and Barney, you're a Notre Dame guy, eh?
You're damn right.
So he's going to like this pick. How do you say it? Julian Aquara?
Aquara.
I chose him. As you know, Minnesota lost edge rusher Everson Griffin. We gained Michael Pierce. Why not draft a D tackle to really fill that, pair him next to Danielle Hunter, get him in there at a nose tackle, and then we got a Fedi Adedebo who really stepped up last season, and you can replace him and put him on the edge, and we have a great line. So I still don't know how to pronounce his last name, but I chose Julian O.
Julian Aquara. His brother Romeo Aquara, also a Notre Dame guy, played for the Lions for a couple of years at D end. He was like a rotating D end that would come on third downs or play a series or two here or there. Not a super effective guy, but every once in a while he'd make a splash play. But his brother definitely has higher upside by all reports. So. And Julian Aquara is self-proclaimed the best D end in the draft. So
yeah, it's 6'4", 252. Man, he is a big guy.
Oh yeah, for sure. He's definitely a pass rushing threat. I think the worry about him is more his run stopping ability. So, but I mean, Barney, you watch a lot of Notre Dame. What is your opinion on Julian Aquara? Is this a good pick here in the late second round?
Yeah, I think he's definitely a second-round talent. Yeah, he's really athletic. He's really long, and has really good football instincts. So, it's not like he's one of the best, linebackers that Notre Dame's had, but he's definitely a quality back, and I think is going to be a good fit for the Vikings, especially with, we talk about units, right? He's not going to be asked to do as much, when he's already on a team with the defensive backs and prowess that you guys already have. So it's a good pick.
Yeah, for sure. All right. So before the second round closes, there's one more pick, and that is a 62nd overall pick to the Green Bay Packers. So Kinger, man, what are you doing with your late second round pick here?
Yeah, I can take a little bit of a bashing from the squad here for reaching. I'm dishing it out a little bit, so I gotta be fair and pulled my hand up when I was reaching a little bit too. I took Devin Duvernay here in the second round. It's early, right? That's me getting greedy, looking for a playmaker on offense to help Aaron Rodgers. And if you look at the board, just a few picks ahead of me, within the 15 picks where we're at right now. Cole Kmet was a guy that, if there, would love a nice playmaker. Laviska Shenault was already taken, and really Duvernay was a guy that's got some prospects in regards to being a nice volume receiver, good built slot guy that's really supposed to make an impact in the NFL. And so what I should have done, looking back on it, was really took a look at that defensive tackle position. The Packers obviously need help within the run game, and guys like Ross Blacklock, Justin Matabuke, Neville Gallimore was taken out of Oklahoma, but those two names right there, Blacklock and Matabuke, sitting there late second round, I'd rather take a flyer on those guys than Duvernay, because he was definitely going to be around a few rounds later, at least, a handful of picks later.
Yeah, for sure, man. And this Devin Duvernay, actually, I don't think it's as much of a reach as you think, just in terms of the fit for the offense that the Packers need. So this guy, Devin Duvernay, 42 of his 105 catches last year came on screen. So this guy is a true slot guy, someone that Aaron Rodgers could probably check to really quick just to get off a quick pass. Just kind of throw the defense off. Or, Aaron Rodgers loves to run up to the line really quick. This could be a guy to throw it off really quickly, too, if the defense isn't ready. And this guy's only had 3 drops last year, so he's really sure-handed as well.
Yeah, that's the point I was going to make. May, because I think he's got five career drops, right? 3 last year, so he's sure-handed as it gets.
Yeah, Barney.
Yeah, this guy kind of reminds me a lot of James Washington when he was at Stillwater. This is a stocky guy who's very sure-handed and just like a really athletic slot receiver. Here's the thing about the draft. There's a lot of people that, and I'm not trying to be nice to you here after you just badmouth me, but, everyone's talking about reaches and whatnot. It's like nobody really knows, right? I mean, every scout that's out there and he's talking to these people like McShay and everyone, they're fluffing up people that they don't really like as much, and they're keeping the hush on guys they really do. So here's what you got to think. When's your next pick? Your next pick might be in 10, 15, 20 picks. If you don't think he's going to last that long, you grab him. I don't think it's a bad pick, especially going with Murray in the first. So I actually like the pick.
That was very nice of you, Barney.
Yeah.
All right, look at that. A little love there at the end of the second round. But now we're moving on to the third round. And the Detroit Lions, of course, up again here early in the third. The Lions originally had 2 third-rounders, but they did trade one away in this mock draft of mine to trade up or to trade back with the Chargers, but to get that early second-round pick. But so I'm left with 1 third-rounder. It's the third pick of the third round, and I think the Lions get an absolute steal here. I was super pumped when this guy was still on the board. Kinger just mentioned him briefly, but that's Ross Blacklock, D tackle from TCU. This guy has a lot of, early second round grades. That's why I was so pumped to see him fall here to me here in the early third. The Lions desperately need help up the middle on their defensive line. This guy is a super freakish athlete from the D tackle position. When I saw his name here, I could not pass it up. I was looking for a D lineman. This was the best prospect on the board available at the time, so I didn't think too much about it, really. Ran a 4.9 40. The guy's 6'3", 290. 29-inch vertical jump, which is okay. 8'11" broad jump, which isn't too bad. So, but he has that explosiveness. The thing about him, and maybe why he falls to the third, is on tape sometimes he takes a couple plays off here or there. Hopefully that can be corrected, or at least a rotational D tackle. The Lions need all the help they can get, especially from a pass rush perspective up the middle. This guy fills it out. I'm super pumped about it. I did not think twice about this one either. Man, I'm having a killer draft, you guys. By the way, so I'm thrilled with my draft up to this point here in the early third round.
Don't get too happy. The Detroit Lions on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday will make sure that it's not as good as this.
We haven't even gotten to fourth round. I'm going to explore when we get to the fourth round. But before I get too excited, let's move on to the next pick here that we had, and that's back to you, Remy, man. Minnesota, 89th overall. What did you go with, man?
Yeah, I went with Nick Harris. He is a guard out of Washington, and Minnesota needs all the help they can get on the O-line, and what better pick than a guy like Nick Harris? We need that extra push. We don't know if Riley Reef, our left tackle, is going to be traded, or if he's going to move inside guard. There's been complaints about our current left guard, former center Pat Elflein. He has been playing the best, so I think we go offensive line here.
Yeah, and the thing about Nick Harris, PFF graded him as the best zone offensive lineman, which is a perfect fit for that Gary Kubiak offense that they're going to be running in Minnesota this year. So that's why I really like the pick for Minnesota and you, Remy, man. Because the Vikings like to run the zone, right? That's Gary Kubiak staple.
Oh yeah,
get those reach blocks.
Anything you can get those blocks and get. They like to throw a lot of tight end screens, and they've been utilizing the screen with Dalvin Cook, obviously, also. So if you can get out there in open space, it's going to be very dangerous. Give Kirk Cousins a little more time.
For sure, man. And Barney, just make sure I'm not skipping over you at any point here, because I know you made that trade, and I don't know if I can't quite tell if it registered on my thing. So just alert me if you were up before one of these. But so the next pick that was up was 94th overall, and that was to Green Bay. So, Kinger, what'd you go with? 94th overall in the third round.
Yeah, I was looking to solidify that offensive tackle position. With Bulaga gone, we signed Rick Wagner as kind of a stopgap, but really we're looking for a long-term tackle for replacement there. And honestly, I had a couple guys in mind. Ben Barch, an offensive tackle out of St. John's in Minnesota. He's a converted tight end, but really he's a small school guy that's getting a lot of hype. He was actually drafted at 92, a couple picks ahead of me. So the other guy that I had my eye on, which I was plenty happy to get here in the third round as well, is Jack Driscoll, the offensive tackle out of Auburn. So he was actually he played 2 years up at UMass and then transferred to Auburn last year, and he's improved statistically wise every single year of his career. He's considered really one of the better pass blocking tackles in the draft. There's still some work to be done with his run blocking, but in regards to his athletic ability and that pass protection, they're really high on him. So to get him there in the third round, replacement Bulaga, who is obviously excellent in pass protection throughout his career, really excited about that, and really no complaints at all from that spot from me going forward.
Yeah, I mean, Kinger, I do like that pick a lot. This guy has a super high pass grade. His run blocking has a lot of work, but as far as a pass blocker goes, he has a really high grade. So that's why, I do like that pick, unfortunately.
That's what we're looking for. Looking for that replacement to hold those blocks for 5 seconds, right? So there's a ton of athletic ability. They're hoping just to groom those skills, but solid prospect that I'd like to see Green Bay take a look at.
Yeah, and out of Auburn there, so they have a lot of success with their prospects there. The next pick in the third round, and Barney, I believe it was you, right, at 103, the trade with Philadelphia that you made earlier?
Right. So
you have the 103rd pick, and this is the trade from Philadelphia that you made earlier. Go.
And this is why we kind of got boring in the second. We wanted to make sure that we can add 3 impact players. Before the pick, I liked Chase Claypool, but unfortunately he went to Pittsburgh, the pick before me. But it didn't really matter. I felt, there's a lot of people on the board that really were intriguing to me. There's 2 cornerbacks by the names of Bryce Hall and Cameron Dantzler. There was 2 wide receivers, Tyler Johnson from Minnesota and Peoples-Jones from Michigan. But you know what? I kind of lit up here another position of need for the Bears at tight end, and so I went with Bryson Hopkins from Purdue. He's a big, really fast, talented tight end, it's just this is something that I think the RPO needs, and so. Really been gloating about him the last couple podcast episodes, and really happy that he fell to 103.
Yeah, I hate to burst your bubble, Barney, but I don't think we're going to get a Bryson Hopkins still there at 103. I think he is the 3rd best tight end in the draft, and quite frankly, man, I don't see him past 85. I don't think the Bears will be lucky enough to snag him. I think he's a good enough prospect where he's going to go ahead of that.
All right, well, I don't really have a lot of stake here in the drafts, but you can make it a little bit interesting for me. I don't know if we're going to have a 3rd. I hope we trade back and we do, but I'll take you up on that. I'll bet you that he falls at least to 85 and after.
Okay. Now, I think people are going to be saying I might be drinking the Purdue Kool-Aid just a little bit here, but you got yourself a bet, buddy. I'll take Bryson Hopkins sub 85 for sure.
All right, we'll have to figure something out then.
And maybe follow us on social media to see the follow-up for that bet, most likely. But I like it, though. I like it. But I also think you might be drinking some Kool-Aid there, Kinger. But I'm not part of the bet. I'm just, outside.
Hey, I will just make the comment. I will compliment if the Bears get Hopkins at 103. That's going to be a great pick. I would not like to see him in a Chicago uniform.
All right, last pick of the third round goes to, at least in the NFC North, Minnesota. So, Remy, the second to last pick of the third round, what'd you go with?
Yeah, 105. I went with Bryce Hall. Again, another big corner. We need corners, and to me, he's a top 5 corner.
Really? You think he's a top? Do you think he's a top 5 cornerback?
I am that high on him. I am.
Hey, and Remy, I think you're in the same boat as a lot of these evaluators on these teams here. The consensus here is that both wide receiver and cornerback, once you get after the top 2, top 3 guys, the next 10 to 11 people for both positions, there's some teams that absolutely love guys like Bryce Hall, and then there's some teams that don't. So, I think I'm somebody that thinks Bryce Hall is definitely up there, and I was highly considering him at 103. So at 105, especially what your team need, that was a good pick.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I just don't know if he's a top 5 quarterback. I don't know. That might be a stretch for a statement.
We
at
all
least.
got
but
different draft boards. We all have different draft boards.
But I love that you're you're hyping up your pick there from your mock draft. So no shame on you for that one. All right, so this is the last round. We're gonna go in depth, and then rounds 5 through 7. I think we're just gonna tell you kind of who we picked and quick. But we're gonna go through round 4 here before we get to that. So round 4, the Lions have the 3rd pick of round 4 as well. And this is the one I want to get hyped for. This, I already have some steals in this draft. Getting J.K. Dobbins and Vaughn early in the 2nd. Hyping up Blacklock in the 3rd round, but getting Donovan Peoples-Jones early in the 4th round. Oh baby, possibly the most athletic receiver in the entire draft, besides maybe Henry Ruggs in terms of speed.
What?
But man, Donovan Peoples-Jones, dude. I am thrilled to get this guy early in the 3rd round. What do you, Barney? Why are you reacting like that? Do you disagree?
You amaze me. No, I think he's a great pick, but you amaze me sometimes with your hyperbole. I think you could pick anybody and convince yourself it's the best pick in the draft.
No, wait a minute. No.
There is no way he is more athletic than people like CeeDee Lamb and Jerry Jeudy. But hey, if you're gonna,
what do you mean there's no way? Donovan Peoples-Jones in the combine, 44.5-inch vertical, highest in the entire combine, 11.07 broad jump, highest in the entire combine. And this guy was a 5-star recruit out of high school, mind you. So he was the highest recruited wide receiver in the country at that time. Now maybe his production didn't match up to Michigan, but we all know that the situation in Michigan with quarterbacks the past few years has been a shit show. And a very run-heavy offense. So I don't think he lived up to his potential in terms of but his athleticism completely there. And the Lions have shown that they can take athletic wide receivers and make them productive, a la Kenny Galladay. And to get down to Peoples-Jones in the 4th round with a guy that athletic, I feel like it's a complete steal. Kinger, I know you got something to say.
Yeah, I'm going to side with you on this, Big Z. I think Peoples-Jones in the 4th round would be a really solid scoop for the Lions. To pair outside on the opposing side of Kenny Galladay, Peoples-Jones is a physical specimen, right? There's absolutely no denying that. Those combine stats you just recorded, he's a tough guard for corners, especially smaller corners. There is concern, I guess you could say, about some of his route running and his ability to separate, but if you're looking for a guy just with pure athletic traits to build off of and potential, I mean, he was a 5-star recruit for a reason. I like that pick in the 4th round for the Lions.
Yeah, Barney, you got one more follow-up here before we move on?
Well, yeah, I said at your pick, that's great. I just thought it was funny that you're calling him the most athletic wide receiver in the draft, and he's fallen to the 4th round, and I think right now he's probably like the 11th or 12th wide receiver taken. So that was just funny to me. That's all. I think it's a good pick though.
You're just a hater. You're a Notre Dame guy. You don't like Michigan.
I gotta knock you down a little bit. You're having way too much fun over there.
All right, man. All right. So as we move on in the 4th round here, pick 132 overall to Minnesota. So Remy, your 4th round pick 132.
Yeah, I took a linebacker, Davion Taylor. Great physical player. They compared him to Eric Kendricks, which is nice. And we've kind of been struggling on the linebacker side, trying to figure out where to put Barr. Is he more of an edge rusher? We need someone who can drop back in coverage, and we also need someone who can go rush the quarterback. So, yeah, Davion Taylor out of Colorado was my pick here.
All right, man. All right. I don't have too much to add to that one, really. So last pick of the fourth round in terms of the NFC North, pick 136 to Green Bay. So, Kinger, what did Green Bay go with here?
Yeah, so I'm taking a flyer on an extremely athletic interior O lineman out of Mississippi State, Darrell Williams. We took Elgton Jenkins last year in the second round out of Mississippi State after Darrell replaced him at center this year for Mississippi State. But Elgton turned out to be a great pick for the Packers. One of the best young rookie offensive linemen last year. Excellent run blocker, and we're hoping to get something similar out of our guy Darrell here, right? Reaching could be a statement used here as well. One of the most athletic interior offensive linemen in his class. They're saying he's got great feet and ability to move to the next level. A lot of questions around strength here with this guy. In regards to his base, leg strength, they're saying that's going to have to develop significantly in order to be a successful NFL offensive lineman. So hoping that the Packers strength coach and strength and conditioning team can help hop in here and get him up to speed quickly. But we need to build that interior line for the future, and that's where I took a step there.
All right. So that wraps it up, at least from rounds 1 through 4 for our teams. Barney, the Bears, no picks in the fourth round this year, right?
No picks.
No picks. Yeah, that's a common theme for you this draft. Yeah, Barney?
We gave away our fourth pick to acquire Nick Foles, so that's why we don't have him. We got one.
Oh, that's right.
We got a compensation pick, but that one went quickly out the door. I think we held on to that pick for about 2 weeks.
All right, man. All right. So what we're gonna do for the remainder of this is I'm just gonna go around to each of you guys and just say who you picked rounds 5 through 7, if that works out all right. So Remy, let's start with you and the Vikings and just list out who you got rounds 5 through 7 in this mock, because the Vikings have a lot of late round picks.
We do. I went with another wide receiver in Isaiah Hodgins. Then I went with Raekwon Williams, D tackle out of Michigan State. Alex Taylor, another O lineman out of South Carolina State.
Yep.
And then I went another back-to-back tackles. We need depth. Depth is what we need. Trey Adams out of Washington.
All right, man. So Kinger, who the Packers end up going with for the rest of the draft here, rounds 5 through 7?
Yep, fifth round took Lavert Hill, cornerback out of Michigan. With our 3 sixth-rounders, took Khalil Davis, defensive tackle out of Nebraska, Tyree Cleveland, wide receiver out of Florida, and Carter Coughlin, outside linebacker from Minnesota. And then to wrap up the draft, to add to our current 6 tight ends on the roster, I took Cheyenne O'Grady out of Arkansas to wrap it up.
All right. I don't hate that Cheyenne O'Grady one, by the way. I think he might be a sleeper, a decent pick. Remy, I meant to comment on the Nate Stanley one really quick with you. Is that just out of Iowa loyalty, man?
Oh, Nate Stanley, he's got potential. You just wait.
All right, man. Barney, so who did the Bears end up going with rounds 5 through 7 here?
So we went with Sadiq Charles, offensive tackle from LSU. This wasn't the way I was drawing it up here, but if you're keeping track, that's 3 of my first 4 picks, LSU Tigers. I just think he's a pretty decent offensive tackle. That's a position of need here. At 200, I went with Quez Watkins, a wide receiver out of Miss State. I think he's a stud, or Southern Miss, I'm sorry, but I think he's a stud. He's really rangy. After that, I went with Broderick Washington Jr. at 226. He's a defensive tackle out of Texas Tech. And last, I went and grabbed another rangy wide receiver, Juwan Johnson from Oregon, with my last pick in the draft.
All right, man. And just to wrap up my stellar mock draft for the Detroit Lions, in the 5th round, the Lions go with a guard, Ben Bredesen, a possible future starter. So, I mean, we're just grabbing great players all over the place. Then Michael Ujimudia, the cornerback from Iowa. LaMichael Perrine in the 7th round from Florida. That guy can tear it up when he wants to, at least in short yardage. and then Daniel Thomas, safety out of Auburn, at pick 235. So that's gonna wrap it up for our mock draft. I just see Barney laughing at me.
I love it. I love it.
But man, yeah, I mean, this was fun, guys. I don't know about you. This is the first time I went through a methodical mock draft in a long time. It's been a couple of years, so I really appreciated it going through this process with you guys over the weekend. But it's gonna be crazy. But this year especially, the NFL draft being the only big sporting event within like a 4-month time frame before and after. There is going to be unprecedented viewership probably, but there's also unprecedented betting going on this NFL draft. It's supposed to be the most heavily bet on draft by a wide margin this year because there's been nothing to bet on besides maybe like some horse races or some like weird Russian soccer. But there's really been nothing. NBA 2K Sports Tournament, I think there was something to bet on, but nobody's going to bet on video games. Regardless, anyways, but Barney, man, what are some big bets that you're looking at here in terms of wagers on this draft? You got to have some good ones, man.
Yeah, I was just looking at what was out there. Just a lot of fun trades. I kind of kept away from the kind of like the prop bets where it's like, who's the first person the number 1 overall draft pick's gonna hug. I kind of kept it more actual draft related here. But, a couple right off the bat, the total draft day round 1 trades, the line's at 5.5. It's pretty interesting. I think there can definitely be some moves in the top 10, as that's usually how it rolls. But there's so many good wide receivers and skill set positions that these people, they're gonna fall in love with the guy that they want, and if they're within a pick or 2 or 3, I feel like they're gonna pull the trigger, and I think we'll see a lot more trades in the back half of the first half. So I think the over at 5.5 is gonna hit here. What do you guys think? Are you guys anticipating a lot of trades?
As far as trades, I mean, a lot of if the Lions make a trade at 3, I can see that happening for sure. There could be a lot of stuff going on if that happens right off the bat. Well, I think we'll know right away.
And I kind of think that because of this whole, and I was kind of thinking about the predicament we're in here. I think a lot of GMs have probably had spoken but unspoken, like, hey, just be ready for a call, just because it's a completely different draft environment. It's like, hey, if I'm coming, let's get something done. So I think there might be even some pre-draft negotiated, like just be ready for my call type situation. So, we're all just rooting for a fun Thursday night. So, that's my first trade, but then there's a couple other ones. There was a time in the past. One of you guys might know who it was. I can't remember, but if you don't turn your draft card in when the clock hits 0, you lose your pick. It skips over you and you don't pick until your next pick. So that's happened before. I don't know if they're going to have some sort of leeway because it'll be digital. This go around, but there's a bet up there and it says, will any team not get a pick in on time? And I'm thinking 7 rounds is a long time. I might side with yes here, but like who knows if they're going to be pretty lenient, right?
Yeah. I love seeing all these NFL GMs draft setups too. Like all these screens everywhere. There was a really good story, Schefter tweeted out today that said the Lions IT guy is going to be sitting in a Winnebago outside Bob Quinn's house for like 16 hours a day from Thursday to Saturday and just only go home like at night to sleep and drive right back. So I'm sure he's not the only one. They just Adam Schefter specifically pointed it out. Maybe because it was a Winnebago. Maybe that made the story more entertaining. I don't know.
That's awesome.
Like, I think they said, or John Lynch said he was testing out his equipment at home, and his wife unplugged all his stuff when they were testing it out with the NFL at one time. So anything like that like a kid could trip over a wire. I don't know, Kinger.
Yeah, well, I just wanted to come in. I was while you guys were chatting, I was copping in to fact check Barney because he had piqued my interest in regards to when the last time a pick was missed. So there was a pick missed in 2011, but I did notice something that I wanted to bring to the group's attention. The Minnesota Vikings actually missed a pick in 2003. They missed the 7th pick because they didn't complete a trade in time. So they ended up having to pick two guys later. They got their guy apparently, but Remy, do you remember that at chance? Because you think there's a chance the Vikings are going to repeat that again this year?
The Vikings most definitely won't repeat that this year. I can tell you that much because, we have Slick Rick. But no, yeah, it was apparently, we had to make a rare pass on our first round choice with the 7th overall pick.
Wow. I never heard that one before.
We were unable to complete the trade with Baltimore before the 15-minute time limit lapsed, and I guess we didn't get it. I was a little young at the time, but I've read up on it, and it's quite embarrassing. I don't think anyone's going to dig that out of the closet.
I think the Vikings were like partying on like boats around that time, right?
Oh yeah, that was the Mike Tice days in Lake Minnetonka.
Minnetonka.
Oh man, Barney, I had one bet value I wanted to, just a bet that I really like, and this is found on Bovada at least. So the draft position of Brandon Ayuk, the wide receiver, over under 32.5. Over is -110, so pretty much even odds, and that is what that's my bet of the draft here is Brandon Ayuk over 32.5, so he'll be drafted 33 or later.
I think that's pretty solid. I think it's pretty safe, to be honest. I would agree with that.
So what is the 5.5 wide receivers in the first round as well, over under? So you're saying you think you're going to be over or under that, Big Z?
5. Well, wait, Barney, was your bet 5.5 receivers or 5.5 trades?
No, you're right. It was 5.5 trades. I got a couple more here. One of them's that the total, because the wide receiver is one of the deepest parts of the draft, that and offensive line. There's 2 trades out here. Total wide receivers taken in the first, and that line's at 5.5.
Oh wow, man.
I'm taking the over on that personally.
I think I'm going to go over. It'll be really interesting towards the end of the first round if a team like the Vikings ends up going with a Jalen Reagor or that's a tough one.
I think 3 will probably go in the first 19 picks, and then right after that it might be like every other, just because of how talented these guys are. But yeah, there's another one here. I think this one would probably be the most bet, actual like person bet here, and that's where Tua is drafted, and that line is currently at 3.5. I know a lot of teams, usually in years past, that second quarterback or at least somebody of Tua's caliber is definitely taken before the 4th pick. So that's an interesting one here. I think there's a lot of factors at play. I like the over. I think he'll fall. I don't think finding a trade partner for Tua will be as easy as it would have been if he didn't have this injury, or actually a couple injuries he's had before. But I think this will probably be the most bet pick or prop bet in this draft.
For sure, man. And I mean, there is a ton. There's more prop bets this year than I've ever seen, and that's probably because the sports books have had literally nothing else to do with their time these days. So they're making up a bunch of stuff.
And I don't know if you guys have seen this last one that I really like here. Right from the get-go, it's been, it hasn't been a clear choice. 1 week it's this guy, 1 week it's the other. They're saying, who's the first wide receiver taken? Currently, right now, CeeDee Lamb is the favorite at -110.
Yeah. I can see that.
Jerry Jeudy is next at 125, and Ruggs is last at 375. That's kind of the consensus that it'll at least be one of those three guys. Again, Lamb is the favorite. Speaking from a pure value aspect, I think it's going to be one of the Bama boys, to be honest, that goes before CD. But and that's not a knock at CeeDee Lamb. He's obviously an absolute specimen. But I don't know how somebody like San Fran or somebody with a decent quarterback, or some of these young quarterbacks, somebody like Sam Darnold. A lot of these guys are going to want one of those field stretchers like a Tyreek Hill, and I could see Ruggs maybe slipping in there, but this one right here is at least one that nobody really knows for sure.
Well, I think there was inklings, and Kid J, producer, if you don't mind throwing in there really quick for me, there was some interest from the Chiefs, right, for Ruggs?
Yes, Peter King reported over the weekend that if Ruggs fell to the 20s, the Chiefs would try to trade up with him, but it'd be hard to but I think the Eagles would definitely take him if he fell to them. So they would have to give up a lot for Ruggs. So
I'd be surprised if those three guys aren't taken before 20.
Yeah, I don't know. 3 would be interesting, but yeah, I thought Ruggs might be the first one, but at plus 375, I don't know if that's quite enough value there. I think I would need at least 4.5 or 5 to 1, but that's just me. I don't know. But I think, gentlemen, that will wrap up this episode here. The final mock draft before the big day on Thursday. I cannot wait. And I know you guys can't either. We did this whole exercise. It's a lot of fun, but now it's time for the real shit to happen. Time for our teams to move forward. The Lions, the whole 2019 season was building up to this, I like to say. So, but yeah, Barney.
I just want to check in right now with you. I know you had a phenomenal mock draft. Do you think you will be this happy after this weekend with what Detroit actually does?
I will.
All right, that's what I like to hear.
All right, Barney, I know if you don't mind previewing just some of our stuff coming on social media here too that we're going to put up as well.
Yeah, just be on the lookout. We're launching our social media. We're going to give our consensus top 5 picks at each position. And as well as a couple other things just to keep you informed on some of the talent that's here in the next couple of days. Just kind of, when we start slipping into the second and third round and we're all still quarantined looking at these draft picks in the 6th, and you're thinking, who the hell is this guy? Hopefully we can answer that.
Yep, and we are still working with Apple, but you can find us on Spotify, and go on our Facebook page to see where else you can find us on there. Elsewhere as well. Google Podcasts is another big one. There's a few others, but those are the 2 most popular platforms that we're on currently. Still working with the Apple people. They're an interesting bunch, but we will get it done. We will get it done soon. But please follow us on Facebook as well. The Pylon. This is an NFC North podcast. Don't forget it. But we can't wait for Thursday. We will be reacting to the first round as well, so look forward to a podcast, a shorter one, of course, on Friday, but just quick reactions to the first round and everything that's going on with this draft. We can't wait. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Please share this podcast as well. It's also up on YouTube, I forgot to mention. That's where we got most of our listens so far. But this thing is rocketing really fast, so we appreciate the support from everybody. It's been incredible so far in such a quick time, and we look forward to giving you great content going forward, and we can't wait. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Thank you, Barney, Remy, Kinger, producer Kid J. And we can't wait to speak with you on Friday with our reactions to the first round. Good luck to your teams drafting too, boys.